Hello Crossmen, this is Tiffany from Ultimate Drillbook, and we are super excited to provide each of you with copies of UDBapp this season. I wanted to let you know about some exciting things that we have planned this summer that we would love for you to be involved in. First, we're going to have a summer full of giveaways that begin on the first of every month starting in May. Check out ultimatedrillbook.com/DCI to take part in these summer events and to win some free UDB gear. Next, connect with us on social media through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let us know how your season's going. Tell us how UDB is helping you learn your show, and let us know what you want to see in future versions of UDBapp. Lastly, many of you are teaching bands across the country in the off-season, and we'd love to welcome all of them into the UDB family. If they reach out to us and let us know that they heard about it from you, we'd be happy to set them up with a discount in their first year. That's it from me before we jump into these tutorials, but as always, if ever you have any questions, please reach out to us at any time. We can't wait to see you this season. Welcome to the UDB family.
We're going to go over how to make the most of UDBapp's features in a rehearsal setting. So choose your song and choose your performer. Click Done. We're brought into the UDB field, and the first thing that I'm going to do before I even learn any drill is just take a look at the animation. Take a look at the first couple pages and kind of see what's going on. As it's animating, I can zoom in and out of the drill chart, and I get to see my performer move on the field along the path. Here I can get a sense of the speed and the pacing of the drill, my different step sizes, and what kind of performers I'm going to be around. Okay, so I've got a good sense of this opening. I'm going to go back to page 1, and before I do anything else, I want to change the orientation of the field. So right now, if we zoom out, we can see that we are looking at the field from the director's point of view, or as an audience member. But as a performer, I want to be able to see the field from my point of view. So when I'm looking at path information or different performers around me, it's accurate and I can be pointing and looking in the right direction. So to change the orientation, we're going to click the UDB button up in the top right hand corner, and that's going to bring up our secondary menu. Here towards the bottom, you're going to see a gear icon. That takes you into settings. So for the settings for this view, right away you can see the perspective. So let's click on that. You'll see that director is selected. So let's click performer. You'll click the back buttons, and now the field has shifted. So instead of the front sideline being at the bottom of the screen, it's now at the top of the screen. So you are looking at the field exactly from your perspective. Now when looking at this first set, for me there's a lot of performers in this area, and I really want to be able to actually just focus on myself for these first couple of sets. So we're going to jump back into the settings, tapping that button at the top right hand corner. We're going to click on the gear icon, and if we scroll down in the settings, we can uncheck show surrounding performers. And when we do that and go back, it hides every performer on the field except for you. This allows you to give yourself a little bit of breathing room and really digest where exactly you are on the field and your relationship to the yard lines. So here I am on page 1, and if I look towards the top left of the screen, I can see that it says counts and 20. This counts refers to the amount of counts it takes to leave page 1 heading towards page 2, and that also corresponds to the path that I see on the field as well. So any green path is showing exactly where the performer is going to next. So in this case, we're going from page 1 to page 2 in 20 counts, and I can animate that. You'll notice when I stop the animation, it brings us into counts view. So you can see that from page 1 to 2, we've stopped on count 13 of 20. You'll also see that the coordinate in the top right hand corner is yellow. That signifies that it is telling you the coordinate for exactly where you are on that count. Now if I want to get out of counts view and go back into page view where I'm seeing the performer on the precise moment of the precise page, we can click the P button on the right. That stands for page view. You'll see when we click P, that button turns to C. We can click that and we're now into counts view, and those plus and minus buttons allow us to move the performer count by count. So before I take my first step, I also want to take a look at the notes that the drill designer left for us. In the bottom right hand corner of the screen, there's an eye icon which stands for information. Clicking that is going to bring up the notes that the drill designer left. So here I can take a look and see if there's anything that pertains to me. Clicking the bottom right hand button again, I can go back to the drill chart. Also, before taking my first step, I can take a look at which counts I crossed the yard line. So up in the top middle of the screen, I see that I have X counts, which stands for crossing counts, 18, which means going from page 1 to page 2, I cross over a yard line on count 18. Jumping into counts view, I can see that. Click plus. I'm moving across the drill. I'm on count 15 of 20, 16, 17, and I can see on count 18, I actually crossed that yard line. That gives me a great reference point for my very first rep to make sure that I'm getting my step size correct. Regarding step size, I can actually tap on the area that's showing crossing counts and see the step size as well for this set. This is a really good way to see the step size going from set to set. Now that we've taken a look at all of this information, I'm going to bring back all of the other performers so I can get a sense of the form. And I'm going to watch this animation one more time, knowing a lot more information than I did beforehand. I can identify the crossing counts. I'm taking a look at my path information. Since we're in the perspective of the performer, this path information is accurate. Seeing the labels on the field allows me to see what instruments I'm around, what other performers are near me. The step size is helping me to identify the energy changes required to complete the drill set. And now I'm ready for my first rep, having a lot of information to prep me for it. So now, before I've even done the first rep, I know a lot of information regarding notes from the drill designer. I understand how many counts it takes to move to the next step. I know what counts I'm crossing the yard line. I know my step size, and I can identify the shape and the surrounding performers using the animation. One of the things that really helps us march the set accurately is to find midpoints. A midpoint is where you'll be halfway through a drill set. To find a midpoint, we can go into counts view and we can see that this is a 20 count set. So I'm going to go ahead and plus forward to count 10. You'll notice that the coordinate up in the top right hand corner has updated, and it's letting me see exactly where I am halfway through this set. I can also tap the coordinate, and that's going to bring down a coordinate sheet that shows me every single count of this set. So I can also go to count 10 just by tapping on it. Or if there's a specific count that I want to see, I can tap on that count and it's going to bring me right to that spot. If you get to a set of drill where you hold and you perhaps have some body movements or some choreography, this is a great opportunity to use the notes feature in UDBapp to take some personal notes to remind yourself of those moves. Clicking the bottom right hand corner icon, the little eye, it's going to take us into the notes for designers. The button at the very top above the plus button toggles between the notes that the designer left for us and our personal notes. So clicking that button switches between those two. Now, of course, you won't see any notes in your personal notes until you add them, so let's do that now. So let's pretend that we have a body move here on page 10. Clicking the button with the little pencil is going to bring us into the edit mode, and it's going to bring up some tools that we can use to make some notes. In this example, I want to add some text. I'll click the text button, and I'll click the text add button, and it's going to prompt me to add any note that I want. When I've typed the text that I want, I click OK, and it adds it to the canvas. I can move this text around anywhere that I want just by holding it and dragging it. And if I want to change the color, I'll tap in this area up here, and I can change it to any of the available colors here. I can even change the opacity of it if I want to put it over something else. In this case, I'll keep it at 100%. When I'm done editing, I'll click the check mark in the bottom right hand corner. Perhaps I want to add a shape as well. I'm going to go into the shape editor, and I'm going to click add shape, and I'll choose a square. Now I have a square that I can move around, or resize. In this case, I'll put it around my text. I'd like these lines to be a little thinner, so I'll click on this button right here, and I'll make the line a little bit thinner, and I'll click the check mark to save it. The last thing I'd like to do is draw a little picture of the shape to show exactly where I am. I'll click the paintbrush up in the top. I'll draw my shape with my finger, and I'd like to change the color. I'll change it to blue, and I'll click the check mark to save. Now I have personal notes for page 10 that will be saved here, and I can reference them at any time. Now that I'm done with the notes, I'll click the check mark in the bottom right hand corner. It saves it, and you'll notice if we click that toggle above the plus button now, we can see the designer notes and we can see our individual notes. So this is a great way for you to mark down any little things like body moves, or who you are addressing to, or which drum major you should be watching, or who you should be listening to. This is a great place to keep all of that information for quick reference. To get back to the drill chart, you're going to click the bottom right hand button, which shows the path information. That refers that you're going back to the UDB view. We'll take a look at a couple of settings that might help you in your drill learning and cleaning process. Tapping the button in the top right hand corner is going to bring us into that secondary menu again. We'll click the gear icon, and you'll notice the very first setting allows us to change the song. As a performer, you can change who you are if you'd like to do that. Scrolling down a little bit, we've got the option to round our coordinate sheet. So if you tap into that, you'll see that this allows us to choose how precise or how general we'd like the coordinate to be. So for example, your band may decide to learn from the half-step coordinate resolution when learning drill. This is more of a general guideline, and then as you move throughout the season, maybe you want to get very precise with that coordinate. You can come in here to coordinate sheet rounding. For example, let's choose 10th step, and you'll notice when we go back to the drill, all of the coordinates have been re-rounded to the 10th step. So this allows you to dynamically change the information that you're using as you learn and clean drill throughout the season. Let's go back into the settings. You can increase your symbol size. Makes it a lot easier to see your symbol. So when you zoom out on the drill chart, you can still see exactly where you are. You, of course, can show surrounding performers, as we talked about earlier. Surrounding performer color, if you really like yourself to stand out, or you want the other performers to maybe fade back a little bit, you can change their color. So in this example, I'm going to change them to gray. We'll go back to the field, and you'll notice that I really stick out now, and all the other performers have kind of faded into the background. Now I really like this because they're still here, but I can really focus on myself. One of the things you'll notice when playing an animation is that the labels stay attached to the performers. If you'd like to not have the labels stay there when animating, you can go into the settings, and you can actually hide labels during animation. So if we check that, we go back, click play, you'll notice that the labels disappear only while you're animating. This allows you to have a little bit clearer image of the animation. The last thing we'll look at by going back into the settings and scrolling all the way down to the bottom is audio playback. If you want to keep the sound on your device on, but you don't want to hear the music every single time you animate, you can just turn this off, and when you play, no audio will play as well. And finally, the last thing that we'll talk about is the creation of custom views. So you'll notice that any time we're looking at the drill chart, you as a performer are selected. But perhaps you want a view where you're not selected, and maybe you want to be able to quickly look at the field from the perspective of a director. Tapping the button in the top right hand corner, bringing up that secondary menu, you'll notice right below the UDB logo we have two options to add views. So if we click one of those, it's going to ask us to choose an icon for our new settings. So in this case, I'll choose the flag. And now we have a completely new custom view. Now what this allows us to do is to switch between different views with different preferences with just a tap of a button. If we go to that custom view by tapping the top right hand corner button and clicking on our new icon with the flag, you'll notice that no performer is selected. The cool thing is that you can tap on any performer and get their information. If you want to deselect a performer, you just tap away. It's very easy to tap performers and see everything that you need to know. So maybe you need to help someone else, or maybe you're being helped and you can access anyone's information with just a tap of a button. You'll also notice that the drill is now back to the perspective of the director. That's because when we go into the settings for this, the perspective is set as the director. But using the controls at the very bottom, you'll see this little rectangle and you see the UDB logo on the bottom left. When we tap that, we go into the settings for that UDB view. And when we tap the flag, we're looking at the settings for that view. So very quickly, you can switch the settings for these custom views and you can create completely new ways to experience the drill. So in this example, I'm going to keep the perspective of the director. I'd like to change the performer color to blue. I'd like to actually keep the labels on during animation. I'd like to have audio playback on as well. But in UDB view, if we click at the bottom left hand corner, we're going to have myself as a performer selected. We're going to keep the perspective of the performer. We're going to reround the coordinate sheet to the whole step so we can be very general with that. We're going to not show the surrounding performers. And we are going to keep hide labels during animation on. So now you can see we're back into our first custom view. All of the performers have their label. We've tapped on somebody, but we can easily tap away to focus just on the drill chart. We are in the perspective of the director. But now if we want to go back to our UDB custom view, we just click that button in the top right hand corner. We click UDB, and we're now in that custom view where we're only seeing ourselves. We are highlighted, and we've got all of our other preferences selected. So you can see how quick and easy it is to move between these custom views, to where you can be helping a certain section or you can be tapping on a performer to help them with their drill. And you even have room for one more custom view here in the secondary panel. So as you can see, UDBapp puts more information in your hands than ever before.